The other day, I made a video teaching you this really simple exercise that you can use with, let's say, some of your more difficult coworkers and colleagues. It's not what I think of me. It's not what you think of me. It's what I think you think of me. This is an exercise meant to change your perspective around your relationship with that person and play little tricks on your brain to get you to behave differently in the situation. Now, if you haven't watched that video, I suggest that's the very first thing you do. Go back, check out the explanation of that exercise. This is the first tact I usually recommend people take because it's a little bit of a softer approach. You can use this with anyone on the spectrum of difficult coworker, right? But it tends to work best with people that they don't know that they're being difficult. Maybe they just have a different work style from you. Maybe you two just got off on the wrong foot. You need to kind of recalibrate your relationship. This is an exercise that tends to work well with those types of problems. It's not to say it can't work better with more difficult people as well. It absolutely can. But I've got another exercise for those extra difficult people. And you might want to even use it in combination with this exercise to get even better results. So, what I want you to do for this exercise today is I want you to get a clear image of a really difficult person that you need to change your working relationship with, you need to change your perspective about. These are people that cause you a lot of stress, cause you a lot of anxiety, maybe even the mere sight of them causes your body to have like this visceral reaction where you start like clenching your fists, or maybe you start to shake, or maybe you start to get that sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach. They cause you to have that like visceral reaction to them based on whatever has happened in the past to cause this relationship. Now, you can start to mend relationships with these types of people, but it has to take a willingness on your part to look at things differently. So try this exercise, give it a whirl, see if that will help you. But if that doesn't do the trick, or if you need like that little extra strength, extra muscle, I want you to do this exercise that I'm going to teach you here. Now, for our purposes here, I want you to have a really, really, really clear image in your head of the most difficult person that you work with. Maybe it's someone you currently work with, maybe it's someone that you've worked with in the past, but get that really, really clear image in your head. I know it can be painful because these are people that cause you a lot of stress, but I need you to have that image for this exercise to have its maximum benefit. Okay, you got that person? You know who we're talking about? Everyone has a person like this. I know you do. So I'm going to assume you have that clear image in your head. Now, I want you to ask yourself, if that person looked like this, how would you speak to them? How would you work with them? If this person looked like the crazy lady, how would you work with them? How would you perceive them? And this might seem a little bit silly. Listen, the crazy lady is meant to be a little bit of an exaggerated image. I don't want anyone to be offended. This is an exaggerated image. This is not a real person. This is not real life. This is a trick that you want to use to try to get your brain to look at the situation differently. So let's just lean into it for a second. What if that really difficult person that you have the toughest time with, what if they looked like this? How would you speak to them? How would you work with them? Now listen, if it's like, imagine this person is like literally right in front of you right now in the office. Are you going to come at this person aggressively? No, I would hope not, because she's a crazy lady, right? I would hope not. Are you going to take anything that this person says to heart? If this person tells you you are horrible at your job, are you going to take that seriously? No. Are you going to approach this person with, a little bit of extra empathy? Maybe a little bit more gently than you'd approach the average person that doesn't cause you stress? I would hope so. Are you going to allow this person to really get into your head and make you believe that you are unworthy or unvaluable or incapable of doing your job, doing your best work? I would hope not, because you'd be listening to a crazy lady. That doesn't make any sense, right? Here's the thing. How we treat other people is a reflection of how we feel about ourselves. It's a reflection of how we feel about ourselves. And so those people that are causing you stress, that treat you really badly in the office, listen, they may look all put together. They might have on their best suits and their hair is all done up and they have all this jewelry, or they have the fanciest watch if they're a gentleman, or any of these things. They can look outwardly like they have it together. But if they're treating other people badly, this is what they look like on the inside, folks. This is what they look like. They're stressed out. They probably don't take very good care of themselves. They probably don't have people in their lives showing them how to treat people well. They may have never have had, maybe if it's your boss that causes you problems, maybe that person has never had a good boss that has really been a positive force in their lives. Maybe they've only had bosses that have talked down to them, treated them badly, condescended to them. They never learned how to do it differently. This is what they look like on the inside. This is what you can use for all those extra difficult people. Now, maybe the person doesn't look like this. Again, this is an exaggerated version. If this picture is offensive to you or bothers you, I'm sorry about that. I can't please everyone, but maybe you could just substitute a different picture. Maybe you could try differently. Maybe they might look like this person. That's a person I see. Actually, it's a little bit of an exaggerated image as well, but I've absolutely seen this person in the office before, right? Or maybe they look like this person. The mean old boss that just wants to point the finger and put other people down. Maybe they look like that. Or maybe they look like this. When I look at this image, I see someone that's struggling. I see someone that may be experiencing depression. I see someone that is not having an easy time. Whatever picture you need to use that works best for you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the picture is. If it's one of these more normal looking people or if it's literally the crazy lady. Because all we're doing is getting ourselves to look at the person differently, to see different aspects of them. And you don't need to know all the details. You do not need to know what caused them to be like this. All you need to know is that that's where they're at. And that, hopefully, if you take that in and really allow your brain to process that, that's a really, really sad thing. I work with a lot of people that work with legit narcissists in their work experience. And narcissists are actually pretty rare. Real narcissists, they're only about 6% of the population. The word narcissist gets thrown around an awful lot when it really, really shouldn't. But I always think that when I encounter legit narcissists in the workplace and people that just, are pulling their hair out trying to work with them, I try to get them to see that being a narcissist, and that's on the more extreme end, but being a narcissist is actually a really, really sad thing to be. It's sad for your whole life. You have to really put all that extra energy into recreating reality around you to have you be the center of the universe. It is a very, very sad thing. That's one of the most extreme types of these personalities that you can encounter in the workplace. And I always, no matter what that person is saying, no matter what sort of crazy stuff is leaving their mouth, even if they are president of the United States, I always try to look at those people with a little bit of extra empathy because they are the way they are because they've been hurt. And what this might allow you to do is actually learn how to forgive these people. Learn how to forgive what they've done. Learn how to forgive those slights. Now, oftentimes when I bring up the topic of forgiveness, I get told, well, Carlin, I'm not going to let them off the hook. They did all these things. It made me feel horrible. It caused me to be stressed out. It caused all these negative things in my life. Why would I forgive them? Forgiveness is not about them. It is not about letting them off the hook. It's not about letting them get away with it. Forgiveness is about you. It's so that you don't carry around that extra anger, that extra frustration, that extra negative energy. It is so you can release it. It has nothing to do with them. It is not your job. At the end of the day, it is not your job to teach them a lesson. It's not your job to teach them the error of their ways. To really bring that human element back into your work experience. You need to treat everyone with that little extra empathy that you would hope that they would give to you. Because if you are not willing to do it to them, then why should they do it for you? Why should they? So, this is my exercise for those extra difficult people. Again, you can combine it with the exercise I taught the other day. That's fair game. But really give this one a try. If you find yourself struggling with this one, that's just you resisting this exercise. If you find yourself struggling, pushing back on it, it's because you're building up a wall so that you don't have to see that person in the way that they are. But just try again. Break down those barriers, make yourself a little bit vulnerable in the situation. A little bit of vulnerability can go a long way. Let me tell you a story. It's one of my favorite stories from one of my difficult coworkers, and I write about this in my book. But I once was in this really, really toxic job where it was the biggest person I had an issue with at that moment. It was someone who I was peers with. He was in another department. I was kind of like this little young upstart, and he didn't really understand me. He was this like old curmudgeonly dude. Listen, you put this guy next to like Bernie Sanders. He's a little bit younger than Bernie, but like that's the level of curmudgeon that we're talking about. Bernie Sanders or like Larry David level curmudgeon here. And so he and I did not understand each other at all. And for months and months and months, we were just like picking at each other, pick, like doing these passive aggressive things to each other in meetings and conversations, all these things. It was incredibly frustrating. One day we were in a meeting, and of course we were with like 12 other people in the room or something crazy. And he unleashes on me in the middle of this meeting. He absolutely unleashed on me. And I reached the level of anger where I was so pissed off that I couldn't even speak. This is a rarity for me. I can almost always, come up with something to say in a situation, but I was just like, I could not even speak the level of anger that I was at. And it wasn't just this one incident. It was everything over the course of months building up to this incident. I was done. I was done. And so the meeting ended, and it was right before lunch, and I stomped out of the building. I went to Buffalo Wild Wings. It was right down the road from where I worked. Also nice comfort food, right? I got a giant plate of buffalo wings, and I got a really large beer. In retrospect, the beer probably wasn't my best decision though, because I kind of sat there, ate my lunch, drank my beer until I was good and ready to go back to the office. But I wasn't done fighting when I got there. I wasn't done with this situation, and I stomped over to his office and walked in and slammed the door, looked at him, said, "What is your problem?" The way he looked at me in that moment, it was like the crazy lady. He looked like the crazy lady to me. And that was because I knew in that split second, I knew that it wasn't me. He was getting it from all sides in the organization. He was getting it from every single angle. And I just happened to be the person in his line of fire when he couldn't take it anymore. He had reached his breaking point, just like I had reached my breaking point, because it was really a very, very bad place to work. There was a lot of other stuff going on. And in that moment, I almost instantly, without even thinking about it, forgave him. And it was the best thing that ever happened for our working relationship. And, we had a great conversation. We opened up to each other and we shared the struggles that we were having. We were vulnerable in that moment. It is not an easy thing to share struggles that you're having in a toxic organization with someone that has made your life difficult for months and months and months. But we did, and we had a hug at the end, maybe shed a tear or two. I gotta tell you, we had a really good working relationship after that. Now listen, we didn't agree on everything. We didn't see eye to eye on everything, but we had a significantly better working relationship than we had before. And I think it was because in that moment, both of us, and he probably saw me as the crazy lady too. I am not innocent in this situation at all. I was doing exactly to him what he was doing to me. But in that moment, I think we saw each other differently, and we were able to let our guard down. We saw each other as the crazy lady. And that was when our relationship changed. Now, I got very lucky. I purely stumbled into that circumstance. But you can do this for yourself. You can start, at least if the worst thing that happens is that you change your perspective about someone who has had a really hard time in their lives. If that's the worst thing that happens, hey, I'm still going to call that a win. And that still will impact your experience. Even if you don't have that heart to heart like I had with my crazy lady, you're still going to change your relationship, and you're still going to change your perspective, and that's going to change how you respond to the situation. And for the really difficult people, that is a brilliant first step. So I challenge you to give it a try, and yeah, leave a comment. Let me know how it goes.